Good morning and welcome to That Does Not Belong to Me. I'm your host, Jamie. It is currently 6:22 a.m. and I'm very excited to be having my coffee with you. And I'm not going to apologize for the raspiness in my voice, but just know that you are the first people I'm talking to today. So it'll take a little moment to wake up and to clear out. So sorry. I am sorry in advance if I'm coughing up a lung here now and then. Sometimes my boining voice sounds like I've been smoking packs of cigarettes all night long, but I don't think I have. So it's just me. And this podcast is about accepting you just as you are. And I have to do the same. So here I am. And I thought, how fun would it be to record this episode over my coffee in the morning before everyone else has woken up? And then I realized as soon as I pressed play and I had this hot cup of coffee in my hand, I kind of regretted everything because I like drinking my coffee while it's hot. So I will have to take moments where I take a sip of it. And if you have a beverage with you, feel free to take a sip at the same time. Obviously, you can drink whatever you want. But I want to share one more thing about that. So I'm taking this Reiki course because a friend of Duncan's parents got a message. We were at a dinner party and she was like, I'm just getting this message. Do you mind if I share it with you? And I was like, of course, share it. And she said, you need to take your Reiki training and like get your master's, go all the way. And I was like, okay. So I looked into it and I am in a Reiki training with a woman named Kayla. And I was like, what was my point? This might be the problem with 6 a.m. recording, but I'm back on track, you guys. I had to record a little meditation that I could listen to, and I did record it a while ago, and then I hadn't listened to it until like last night. And when I listened, there's a part of the recording, it's just a little meditation, a guided meditation, and it's always funny to listen to your own voice, first of all, but it's a really nice meditation, so that was how I got to listen to it. There's a part where it says, and now be still and let go and breathe. And then when I recorded it, I had to pause for like 5 minutes. I don't think I lasted 5 minutes, but I do believe I took a few sips of liquid, probably water, when I was recording, and I could hear the gulp of the water. And I was trying not to be so extremely irritated with myself. I don't know if that bugs anyone else. And it made me realize, because I often think like, oh, it bugs me when Duncan drinks loudly. Turns out I do too. Turns out it's not just him that's annoying. It's just loud drinking that's annoying to me. So I had to like make it a part of my meditation to not be bothered by it. Like I was trying to just stay connected to my breath, and I was doing the violet breath that they teach you in Reiki training. And by the like, I don't know, fifth gulp, I was like, is this even what's happening anymore? What else is going on here? I was so distracted by it and I like couldn't help but laugh because I was like, this is really annoying. So after I was like, I am definitely going to re-record this. And part of me was like, maybe you should just keep it and suck it up, like let this be a part of your practice, is like being okay with those things that you consider annoying, even though it's literally someone drinking water, right? Is it just me? Please feel free to share. So, okay, today's episode is a solo one. I do have a bit of a plan, even though it may not seem like it at the moment. Drinking coffee is one of them. Cheers. I'm currently drinking the Gem blend of coffee that is being sold at Virgin Hill. So I'll just kickstart with a little recap or excuse me, an update about the fundraising I've been doing. So if you listen to the last episode where I interviewed Ashley, who has been a huge help with these fundraising efforts, she's done all the marketing, she's done all the graphics, and she's done so much more than that. So have a listen to the last episode if you haven't already. But we are officially 1 week in and 1 day. Today is day 1 week and plus one. I'm going to laugh at myself this morning, I think, even if you're not laughing with me. uh, but it's going really, really well. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say where we're at in terms of the fundraising efforts because it's actually a competition. So I have these 10 weeks to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada. But what I can tell you is that my soft goal is $25,000. And I'm pretty sure if I count the cash and checks that I have here that I still have to send to them, we're at our goal a week in. So I'll be upping my goal. I was going to up it to 50, but I might up it to 80 because we still have a bunch of fun events coming up. There's still donations coming in. There's some people who have offered to make a big donation. So we are doing very, very well. So first of all, thank you, thank you, thank you to anyone who has contributed. If you've made a donation, thank you. I see you. I see your name, and I have every effort goal in me to reach out to you at some point to personally thank you if I haven't already. If you donated something for the auction or one of the auctions, thank you, thank you. It's just I'm like mind blown by it all. And honestly, I would say that I'm like surprised by people's generosity, but I'm not. I believe in the good in people, and when you do something good, they want to do something good as well. It just gives them opportunity to. So I'm still just incredibly grateful and still kind of in awe because yeah, it's just it's been incredible. And even we had some food prepared for the auction last Saturday night at the Lakeview, and one of the local restaurant owners, Patrick, where we're holding the next auction on April 22nd, the dinner and auction. The tickets are available for purchase now. You have to be able to go there to purchase them or get someone to pick them up for you. They're $120 for this 4-course meal. It's going to be delicious. There are a couple meal options, and half of the proceeds are going to the cause, and that includes your tip too. I'm in the service industry, so I really wanted to make sure the waitress was taken care of too. It doesn't include drinks, so you can purchase at the bar, and there will be a silent auction, and there will be a live auction as well. So you will have your very own paddle to bid on things. But all that to say is Patrick kindly made these like platters of beef tartare, of tuna steak. He brought these delicious olives. It just went again above and beyond. And I also had my mom who made little sandwiches. My in-laws made some food. And then this lovely woman, Dina, who reached out to me and said, I work with your sister and I just love volunteering. She's been like a little angel that's just like fluttering around and helping in any way she can. And this is what I mean by just like the good, it brings out the good in people. Like just they get to come out and, show how wonderful the world can be, really. So thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'll try to move on. But one more thing is the Shane Murphy show that's coming up. There's actually no, this will be beyond past this. There's a live show tonight where March 31st, but this is coming out on April 5th. So you'll miss the live event if you didn't hear this before then, which you didn't, because it is now the future. Once again, cheers to coffee. But April 7th, there's a show at the Thirsty Boot in town where Shane Murphy is playing. Tickets are on sale now. It's going to be so much fun. Already, I think 90 tickets have sold. So it's going to be I really believe it will be a night to remember. And we're going to have some mystery envelopes there, which have gift certificates and other things in them that you will purchase. You won't know what it is, but then you'll get to have made a donation and at the same time come home with something. So that's going to be very, very fun. And just back to the coffee is that Virgin Hill, my sister's coffee company, it has made this blend of coffee. I reached out to her with this idea, and I reached out to a lot of people with ideas at the start, and everyone was so eager to jump on board, including my lovely family and friends at Virgin Hill. And it's a mix of two different coffee beans, the Colombian dark and Colombian brown. So it's super yummy, first of all. The branding is beautiful. Thank you, Ashley and Kim at Virgin Hill. And it's $40 for a giant bag of coffee, and a good chunk of it goes to the cause. So we have 1,000 bags to sell you guys. Let's do it. And the fun part is they ship as well. So even if you don't live around here, you can get a bag of Gem Blend coffee over at the Virgin Hill website. Okay, couple little health updates. And if you listen to me on Instagram, you feel free to skip ahead, but the podcast, I try to go maybe a little more in depth. And part of me was like, Jamie, do people want to hear about your personal life? And you know what? If you don't, that's okay. But This is partially for me and partially for you, I think, because partially for me, because it's very therapeutic to talk about it, and hopefully partially for you, because I think the way I'm navigating it, and I've been told this, and I do feel it myself too, is that it is, people say inspiring. Um, but I also just hope that it offers people hope if they're navigating anything. And it doesn't need to be navigating cancer or fertility issues. But if you're going through something that is feeling hard and that is feeling like it's not how you wanted your life to go, I just hope, first of all, you feel you're not alone. And then, like I said, that it offers you a sense of hope because life can still be really, really beautiful and really passionate and full of life, even if it's hard. So, that is my hope in sharing my story. So, the recent update. So, starting in about February 6th, I was in Mexico at the time. I had been there for about a week and I was having some health issues because the sides of my face were swelling up just above my jawline. So on the right side, it was getting swollen, it was getting achy, I was having headaches. It was uncomfortable to sleep on, even. So I could only sleep on one side. Gulp. So that was like the last part of my trip. And I have to say, it did not ruin the trip by any means, but it definitely made it more challenging. And it was very distracting. And, I attempt to practice mindfulness, meditation, that sort of practice. And it really is thrown in your face like, can you do that? Do those practices work for you? Are you using them in your actual life? Because that's the actual point of practicing them on your yoga mat or meditation cushion. And I did and I didn't. Like, there were days where I just wanted to like be in pity. I started doing the class again, which is it's based out in New York. It's a yoga slash cardio class. It's called the class. And I did one by the poolside at one of our Airbnbs and I cried while doing it, which often happens in that practice. If ever you've done it, you probably have too. And there's moments where you just like literally are dancing around and shaking your body. It's wild, it's free, and it gives you a big sense of release. And it really is a moment to let out anything that you're retaining, that you're holding in, including emotions. So that felt really good to do that on the trip. And there was a night, the last night, where everyone was going out, and I just decided to spend the night with myself. And I wasn't following my call it my diet, but restorative food practices on the trip because it just realized very quickly it was going to be very hard, and also that I wanted to just really truly enjoy my trip. And so the last night I took myself out and got some Italian food to go. I had a glass of wine while I was waiting for it, and then I came back and watched Fleabag, and it was just the perfect decision for me. And past me would have felt extreme FOMO, fear of missing out, for those who also have to Google what things like that mean. Um, and I just knew it was the right thing. So that's just been such a big part of this too, is all of the listening. And later I'm going to share the themes I've done so far since the playground started. So I have 9 weeks so far that we've done, and we've got another basically month to go. So you're welcome to join for the last month of the playground. And it'll be the last month for a while. So it's going to be a really special month. um, but let me have a sip of coffee. The listening has been just so huge. When I started doing self-help work and taking coaching programs, one of the first things I remember my coach Robin saying is put your hand on your heart and ask yourself what you need. And it's easier said than done. And it's something that actually sounds so simple, but takes a ton of practice, because you can ask yourself that question and you can just have no idea what the answer is, right? So the more you practice it, the more you give yourself space to hear yourself, the more you know what it is, and then the more you also give yourself permission to actually do it. So that's been the biggest like tip that I follow, amongst all of the other little tool belt tricks that I've picked up and that I teach and share now, is just ask yourself, what do you need every single day? And especially in moments where it's feeling hard, but not just those moments too, right? Even when things are going well, what do you need? Um, how do you want to show up today? So that's exactly what I gave myself on that last day of the trip. But then back to the sort of swelling and everything, I came home, got back on track with my nutrition, my supplements. That felt really good, to be honest. I was very excited to get back on track. Like, as much as it was fun to just let loose and be free, there's a certain freedom too in I know it sounds like a controlled thing, but there's a certain freedom in just doing what feels right, actually. That's what that diet is to me, is just it's what feels right at the moment in my life. And I'm not following it so strictly anymore. But now it's been, let's say, a month and a half since I got back. It took a little while for the swelling to go down. I loved to think, I had a week where I wasn't swollen anywhere. Well, I have always kind of lymph nodes that are swollen. There's always little lumps, but there was no pain for a week not long after I got back. And I realized my energy was back on track. It made me really see that it had taken a hit with the swelling. So I was definitely fighting something during that time. I didn't know what. And I had called my oncologist to check in. It's really important to advocate for yourself, obviously. But when I called and spoke to the nurse, she then spoke to my doctor, called me back, and kind of just said, it's nothing to worry about. And she said, if it gets worse or sticks around much longer, call us back. So that was, I don't know. I don't know if anyone else has dealt with, I don't want to it's not to poo on the medical industry. I just feel like often when I've gone with problems, it gets shat on basically. Like, no, that's nothing. Like after getting a little radiation in September, they called me a month later, follow up, anything going on? I said, yeah, I'm having slight headaches, kind of pressure headaches around my temple. No, that's not a thing. Okay, and I'm grateful that I freaking know my body, that I listen to it, that I'm in touch with it, and I know that that's not right, that that's not normal. And I think for some, they maybe just go along and then suffer or, maybe moan and groan. And that's what I was doing too. But to just really pay attention, I have notes in my phone called nugget notes that I just type in almost every day. And I realized I haven't had to type in the last little while because I've actually been feeling okay. Starting to get a little bit under my chin now, which is where there's also some lymph nodes. It's a little bit achy to touch lately. So it's just this evolution. And anyways, the week after that, I was feeling better. The other side started swelling up again. I was like, damn it. I really I don't generally go to a place of why me, I really don't, because this sort of stuff is happening to everyone and around. Like, it's not anything special. And I think I remember when I first got diagnosed, I really felt like I could see going on around me. Like, everyone has their own version of cancer going on in their life. And if that's not even with the physical cancer cells, it's in other ways, like toxic relationships or just other hardships going on, So I don't ask why me. But I do have moments of like, oh, fuck. So, so that swelled up. It was uncomfortable for a while. And during that time, we were supposed to go ahead with IUI. So we had been trying to get pregnant before my diagnosis for about 7 months. It didn't work. I got diagnosed. We took a break. I was like, whoa, I can't. And then also when I got diagnosed, they were like, we might need to freeze your eggs depending if you're going to need chemo or not. So I got into the fertility clinic. So since then I've been followed up, which has been great, because I think if I hadn't got cancer, I would still be waiting for that phone call, because I had talked to my GP about it. So she was going to be putting in a request to get checked out. But yeah, I still haven't got that call. So, I'm lucky in a certain way to have my foot in the door there. And I'm at two different hospitals for both the fertility and for the oncology. So it's weird too, because it's not the same thing. And when I talk to my fertility doctor about the lumps, she's like, yeah, not me. Like, that's not my thing. Totally get it. But it's like, okay, so let me pass this information off and see what they say about getting pregnant. So all that to say, I was given the green light again to start trying, and we had our test done, and everything looked okay on their end for both Duncan and I. And so I thought, let's just try naturally again for a couple months. So we did. Nothing happened. I talked to a friend who was also dealing with fertility issues, and she was like, just do it. Just go ahead, get help here. And I was like, okay, sounds good. I'm getting older here, 38. And so we ended up trying to go ahead with the IUI. But the only process that I did, not this past month, but the one before, was taking the hormone pills for 5 days. Then I was supposed to go in for an ultrasound, but at the time, because of the swelling, I just felt like not in a good place to get pregnant, to put a baby in my body. Like I was so uncomfortable. I was nervous, that doesn't feel like a safe vessel. So I called and canceled the ultrasound, which in retrospect was such a good thing because fast forward a month later, I decide to try again. I mentally get to a better place of like, this can happen for us. Because last month I was going to a dark place of like, maybe it won't. And I have to say, like, I was thinking about it last night, the hardest part, because I have to sometimes, I have to try. So I have to try to wrap my head around the possibility that this may not happen. And if you're listening right now, I know you're going to tell me, don't worry, Jamie, it'll happen. But you guys, sometimes things don't happen. Sometimes they don't. And if you listen back on other episodes where I talk about manifestation with a bunch of different people, I'm really aware of the fact that I don't want to sink too deep into that place of the not possible, right? Because anything is possible. I know that, and that's where I spend most of my time. That's where I spend most of my beliefs, is that anything is possible. What if? What if this though? What if they tell me I can't cure myself and that I can? What if? And what if this is so challenging, but it's going to make the pregnancy even more beautiful? What if, I spend a lot of time there, don't you worry. But I have to say, I go to that place sometimes and debated sharing this because I knew I would break. I think I can wrap my head around me not getting pregnant. I know I'd be a great mom, obviously. But the thought of not being able to give Duncan a child breaks my fucking heart. So I have to stay in hope. And we've talked adoption, and I kind of want to start talking about that a little more or looking into it a little bit more. And if you've gone through with it, please feel free to share, especially if you're in Canada or in Quebec, because I know it's different everywhere. But I also have to wonder sometimes if they'll give a child to someone with a chronic illness. So if you've adopted a child and you have a chronic illness, please reach out to me. I actually was like, maybe I should Google that. Okay, there, I got that done. So I just really wanted to share the honest truth about where my mind goes sometimes, again, because I want you to know that if you go to not always the positive place, not always the optimistic place, like you're again not alone. But I need to tell you that don't spend too much time in the darkness, in the shit. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, and it's not good. It's not good for anyone, and it's not good for creating this healthy vessel that we all deeply are, that we all truly are. Whether you want to get pregnant or not, I'm not just talking about that. So that's where I'm at. Okay, well, one final recap, actually, just to close that off, is that on Monday, which would have been March 20 something, 7th, I had an appointment with the fertility doctor because I had taken the 5 days of hormones again, which I have to say, I don't think I was truly affected by it because people were like, oh shit, you had to take the hormones for nothing. And I didn't notice anything. Maybe Duncan would tell you otherwise. But I went in a couple days after finishing those so I could have an ultrasound. And it was the most efficient appointment I've ever been to. I was in early. She went in with the magic wand and then saw that my follicles were not quite ready. So she said, come back in 2 days for another ultrasound. And it's like an hour away, which, you know what? It is what it is. Like that's totally fine. And then possible insemination Friday or Sunday. And this was a Monday. So it was like looking towards later that week that like, whoa, we're doing this, so that was very exciting. I let Duncan know. And then I drove from Sherbrooke to Montreal, just about an hour and a half, actually. It's not too bad. And saw my oncologist. I had blood tests at 1, oncology at 2. I was with my dear friend Grace, who's a nurse. And I was then told, okay, well, first I just gave her the update, and she had said that these lumps on the sides of my head and the pain or discomfort and the coming and going of them kind of quickly, like even though it was actually within like, some weeks, doesn't seem to be a part of what I have. Like she was like, that's very unusual for follicular lymphoma. So that's weird. She said it might have been a virus that I got, which I hope it is. Like, I hope it was something that I got in Mexico that caused a really weird reaction. And maybe because I have follicular lymphoma, like it would have reacted differently in someone else, perhaps. I didn't get the gastro or diarrhea that everyone else got. I'm puking. So this is what I got, maybe. And maybe it took a while to get out of my system, like maybe it was just kind of fluctuating for like the month and a bit, month and a half almost. So great if that's what it is. And then I had a checkup where she felt, the lymph nodes, and there's some under my neck, and there's one in my groin that is new from the last time I had seen her. And, when they did the PET scan last time, they saw that there were some lymph nodes too in my deep pelvis and my left groin and a few areas. So in the end, she scheduled another PET scan. I'm going to have another one at the end of April, and I'll see her again at the beginning of May. And I can't be pregnant if I'm going for a PET scan. So I had to call the fertility clinic back and say, sorry, no. And just say I'm so grateful that Grace was there, because her attitude after was like, yep, okay, good. This is good. This is what it is. And I was like, this is good. Like I definitely I definitely cried on my way home after dropping her off, but the next day I woke up like just ready for what's next, as much as there's still some fear in it, there's still some disappointment in it. I just was like, "Oh, this is what has to happen." And the first time I went for a PET scan, I'm trying to remember when that was. I guess it was August. Um, sorry for the throat clearing. If this is your pet peeve, then let's try to meditate on that, okay? um, but when I went for that one, she had asked me during the like pre-check, whatever, are you pregnant? And I was like, there is one possibility. Like we had sex one time, maybe at the start of my ovulation, just before the PET scan. And I was like, there's one small possibility. And she was like, we can't do a PET scan if you're pregnant. And I was so desperate for that PET scan to have more answers. When you've been in limbo for a while, and I'm sure many of you know, if you've had something, wrong with you or not wrong, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Don't ever think that. I'm sorry I said that. But if you've had, have to check up on something and then you're waiting for the results, that's what I'm trying to say. It's excruciating. And the idea of having to put that on hold again, to wait again, when likelihood of me being pregnant, I don't want to be like discouraging about that, but was like very, very slim. I had to make the decision in that moment to just say, you know what, I'm not pregnant. And then she made me sign something. That was fucking hard, but it was also so right. So that's what I keep going with, is like what feels right in my physical body, what feels right in my soul, even if it's fucking hard. So I went ahead with it, and you just like switch your mindset, like, and it's not to be in denial, but just to say like, no, I wasn't pregnant. So simple as that. Um, simple, guys. This is so easy, all of this. So that's the update on my health. So now we're like a week later. I did get the call for the PET scan yesterday, so that feels good to just have it in place, even though it's in a month from now. So I'll have more answers then. And the other thing I wanted to share, I wanted to keep this episode pretty short and sweet. I just wanted to share about Club Create quickly, because now we're almost like, by the time this comes out, we'll be like a good month and some into it, probably 6 weeks in. This is like a little brainchild of Jessica Adams and myself. And it's like after the second call, actually more so, because it was one call with me, one call with Jess. There's calls every 2 weeks, and we're together for 3 months. There's a Facebook group to share what it is you're working on, but basically it's for female entrepreneurs who need a little spark of inspiration. I'm more the coaching side of things, the mindset side of things, the copy side of things. Like, what words do you want to put out there? What words do you want to share to people? To help connect with them, to help them to get to know, like, and trust you, to build a relationship with them, and then to ultimately sell to them, because you can't have a small business or a big business if you don't sell. And that's the biggest thing, is just getting over that selling isn't icky. So anyways, that's just part of what I work on with the group. And then Jess is doing more of the branding side of things and creating actual visual content. So we're using Canva, and the last call with her, which was the first call with her, we were using Coolers. If you haven't used that yet, it's so much fun, to really help you create a branding palette. And then Canva is the tool that we both use and that she knows a ton about. So, and the cost of Club Create was 108. And after the second call, I voiced over to Jess and I was like, this is a bargain. Like, only in these two calls, I feel like the people got their money's worth, you know? And then some are reaching out to both of us to do more deeper work, because we can't, obviously, we're brainstorming with people in the Facebook group, but we can't go in true depth with like every single person depending on where they're at, because people are at different levels in their businesses here. So it's really for everyone. But if you're curious by this and you still want to join, you definitely could, because we have all the replays. We send them out. You could become a part of the group. You could like fast track over one weekend, like watching the replays and joining. And we go until, I believe, well, we go until May. It's March, April, and May. The months. Those are the months of the year. Um, I just wanted to mention it though, because it's like it's so much fun and it feeds my soul in such a way. I love coaching female entrepreneurs, and I'm still doing one-on-one coaching with people when they reach out, both for alignment, both for business, both for both, you know, if it ends up being both. And I incorporate a little human design in there too. So the last thing I wanted to share was the topics that I've gone over, the themes that I've been doing the last 9 weeks. And I do them both in the playground and at the Knowlton Well. So the well is a whole other thing that's going on that just is feeding my soul. This business that I started with my partner, Valerie. We officially opened in October, sorry, and soft opening in September, true opening in October. And it's just gone above and beyond my expectations as well. Like, I knew it was something the community needed, but it's just been such a safe place to land. And I just feel so grateful to have the community there, to have Val, to have my teaching. I feel like I've come to a new place in my teaching, both for the playground and the well. And we have some amazing workshops coming up. I'm like co-leading a Reiki meditation session, an evening. It's a Friday evening on April 14th with my friend Emily. There's a Soul Searchers session at the end of April on the 29th. This is with a woman who's a student of ours, and Val and I got to experience a session with her, and I'm just going to share briefly what it is because it was so cool. But basically, she goes into what I would call a trance and excuse me, connects with our spirit guide. So you come to the session with questions. So with Val and I, we were alternating questions, and it was anything from, I asked like, who are my spirit guides? And she said there's a lot of them, but there's one in particular named Isabella, who has this like purple flamenco skirt. And I'm just like loving connecting with Isabella since then, just knowing that she's there to support me, knowing that I can ask her questions, and that I have a bunch of other guides and spirits that are here to help me. And this was something I came to when I received a tarot card from Natalie Vancier, who I interviewed a few episodes back. She gave me a tarot reading, and at the start she did a meditation where she got me to connect with my guides and my ancestors. And it was just this moment of deep relief. And even if you don't truly believe in this sort of thing, honestly, give it a try, because sometimes it can feel very lonely in the world. And if you have these like little visions floating around you, these little spirits, guides, whatever you want to call them or envision them as, they're there to help you. Like, how cool is that? Like, why not believe that, you know? So it was a great reminder that I had that. And then another question I asked was like, what could I do to help my dad, who, by the way, got a PET scan recently and has no more active cancer, which is amazing. He's done now 5 out of 6 rounds of chemo. So he's doing very well. But what came through, the answer that came through, one of them was, she said, or they said, because it's not just her, she's just that channel that's bringing out their answers. But she said, you know, we underestimate the simple healing qualities of dipping feet in warm water or putting a blanket over shoulders. So I messaged him. This happened on a Saturday. We had our session with her, and I messaged him on the Monday and was like, this is going to sound kind of weird, Dad, but can I come over and give you a foot bath tonight? And I did. And I made him listen to the recording because I recorded our session together. And he thought it was very cool. And I wasn't sure how he would take it, but he was like, wow, she didn't even know my feet have been sore. Like that's been his issue lately, is one of his feet, his ankle specifically. Like, so he was quite impressed and he was very, very open. So that was super cool. So the session on the 29th, it's from 5 to 7. And there's, I think it's 8 to 10 people that they're taking. It's her and her brother. And her brother there is really the sweetest man. And he's there to just make sure everything goes okay, that she doesn't go too deep in a trance. He's there to answer anyone's questions. And um, everyone can come with a couple of questions. And it may seem like, well, that's not very much of time for you, but you get to learn from everyone. Like I learned from Val's questions so much as well. So, so I think the whole 2 hours is going to be really special. And you could also book a one-on-one with them. But this is a great way to give it a try. It's $45. And I highly, highly recommend. And then Val's offering an intro to Akasha workshop. Sorry, Akasha. That's the studio I used to teach at. Intro to Ashtanga workshop. She is the Ashtangi, clearly. Mid-May. It's at a very low price, and she's just going to break down the tools and the tricks behind Ashtanga. So that's going to be really, really fun as well. Okay, back to these playground themes. I just kind of want to scan through them and offer like little tips of how they could potentially help you. And I really encourage you to see which one stands out for you at this moment in your life, because it was really fun to reflect back over them and to see this evolution of my time period of what I was living through and what I needed at the time, because that's always the place I teach from. So the first theme was freedom. And I think, sometimes having what feels like limitations put on you. And again, probably people can relate in different ways, whether they've been told they have a certain diagnosis or whether you feel like you're stuck in a job or relationship. There's more freedom than you think in that. And we just have to open ourselves up to it. So just not feeling so restricted, so held back, so like there's nothing you could do about it, right? So open yourself up to the possibilities that it could go any which way, and let yourself feel free. I had a reading recently, an energy clearing with Renee, who I also interviewed some episodes back. And one of the visualizations she received during the reading was that inflatable man that's at like car dealerships. And she was like, you want to have this feeling of being grounded, but also the freedom. Like you want the best of both worlds. You want to have your cake and eat it too. And she said, like, you can have that. You can have that. So I love that idea of just feeling like deeply rooted. There's a bunch of birds flying behind me. You can watch this on YouTube, by the way, although you'll just see me cry and drink my coffee. And then the birds, that's cool. But deeply rooted, but then also with this freedom to move in any which way. And that's something I've been working on lately, especially with my routine and this morning routine that I've been trying to put in place. And I really have to sometimes structure myself, but also know it's okay if it doesn't happen in that way. Like I don't always meditate in the morning. I don't always meditate any day, like every day, I mean, but I did last night before bed, and that is okay. We sometimes think if we don't do it at the time we're supposed to, it's not worth doing. We sometimes think if we don't have an hour to do it, it's not worth doing. That is so incorrect. Take those little 5 minutes here and there, incorporate it whenever you can, Sometimes before getting on a Zoom call, we have these minutes that just get kind of wasted. So I started doing self Reiki, and that I was doing for a little while and then stopped. Why did I stop? It felt so good. I need to be reminded to get back into it. But there's freedom in that too, and knowing that everything is cyclical also. And then the next theme was the pause. And this is something I need to be reminded of often as a manifesting generator who has this momentum, this excitement. I just want to go towards things. I have ideas like a workshop I want to run later in the month. And I have to remember part of it too is taking this moment to pause and to just literally be in the nothing, be in the void. When you connect with your breath, there's a moment in between your exhale and exhale. It's this minuscule void. And what it does too, when you notice it, it does this little void in the mind as well, which is really, really peaceful. It can be really, really a sense of relief because you don't have to think about anything. It's just this vast emptiness, even if it's just for a tiny moment. So take notice of that. And then also, like I gave in this, we give Wellness Wednesday tips. You should follow the Well on Instagram. Every Wednesday we give a tip. It alternates between Val and I. And this week I gave one on connecting with your intuition. And one of the tips I give is when you get in your car, I've done this, I've talked about this before, but you just sit on your seat. And I don't do it every time, but I want to. You put your hands on your steering wheel before doing anything else, before turning on the radio, before rushing off to your day or wherever you need to go. And you pause. You just take a moment. And like with no expectations of something brilliant that needs to come in, it's a moment with yourself. And like really beautiful things can happen with that. If anything, it's just building relationship with yourself. And that's friggin' huge. So give that a try. The next week, it was around Valentine's Day, was self love. And, that gets talked about so much. But I just think, okay, this is just based on the readings I've been doing lately, the books I've been reading. Louise Hay, You Can Heal Yourself. I read Dying to Be Me by Anita Morjani about her near-death experience. I'm also reading um, Anatomy of Spirit. I started reading that one. And it all comes down to the same thing. In terms of healing anything, not just your cancer cells, healing anything is self-love, is being so deeply in love with yourself. And no matter, that's not to say that like, okay, I love myself now, I'm all better. Like I'm healed. It's a journey. It's going to take some time because self-love doesn't come in one day or one program or one book. But start looking at yourself in the eyes in the mirror, starts telling yourself how amazing you are when you do amazing things or do small things or do great things or little things or when you do anything. Tell yourself you're amazing. Start to build that relationship. It all is about that. We have so many great relationships in our lives, and we all know the greatest one. It's the greatest one is with ourselves. It's the most important. It so is. And I know you've heard this before, but let it land now. Okay. And then the next theme was listening, and that I've been mentioning. And it's one, honestly, that, as much as awareness is one that comes back every week almost, listening is a part of that, right? It's like that pause and then that opening your ears, or it's that turning the volume down of all the noise that's around you so you can hear the noise, the beautiful noise that's within you, the words, the guides, the nudges, the downloads, all of these things, the whispers. You got to be able to hear them, and everything is so incredibly loud sometimes. Everyone has lots of ideas and opinions and thoughts, and that's all really, really helpful and beautiful. You got to be able to hear yourself. So that listening for me, it can happen on the yoga mat. It can happen when I'm walking Marley and I'm not listening to a podcast, even though I really love listening to podcasts. So where can you listen to yourself, and how can you carve out time to listen? And that really flows well with the pause, and that also builds self-love, and it also creates freedom. All of these just like, they're all beautiful words, but they can really be stacked together quite nicely. And then I had a week of affirmation, where affirmation was the theme. And this was like a build your own adventure. So what do you need to tell yourself, whatever you're going through? And if you're listening to this, doesn't matter when, what is going on in your life that is feeling, maybe where you're feeling stuck, that is feeling hard, that is feeling like you need a bit of a shift or a change. And this, for example, let's just say you're feeling like nothing is going your way. We have those moments. Your affirmation will now be, everything is going my way. Everything is going my way. Everything is going my way. And then another one, just for example, is like if you're feeling like me lately, where money, even though money is fucking flowing around me for this fundraiser. Personally, I've spent a lot more than I've made lately. I think I realized that maybe that's been something I've been filling the void of, not like eating chips, even though I do sometimes still, or having drinks, even though I do have one every now and then. And like shopping, buying crystals, like things like that. So I have to be a bit careful, but at the same time, I try to remind myself that money flows easily to me. That's another one. And I know it sounds like annoying almost to say, especially if you're like, I'm in fucking debt and I can't seem to get on top ever. Just start saying those words. We start with the words, the belief will follow, and see what happens. But I have to stick to it, and don't just be like, money flows easily to me, try to say it with a bit of belief, a bit of meaning, at least when you start. Or if you don't believe that right away, maybe money is starting to flow easily to me, or money is flowing in small ways to me, and then let it get bigger, change the wording as you go along. So see how that goes, but create what you need right now, what you need to pep talk yourself with right now, depending what's going on in your life. And then we had dancing with discipline. So, I realized too, these fluctuate. And one of my programs was called Ebb and Flow, and we fluctuated from the masculine to the feminine energy. It was like this leaning back to this movement, this momentum moving forward, it was back and forth. And that's what these have kind of been as well. There's kind of a little bit more, I feel, of the feminine energy moving with the flow, leaning back. But dancing with discipline was one where I thought, I have built this extreme discipline that I did not know I had. I've stuck to routines, even though there's little moments here and there where we could call it like cheating or whatever. But I didn't know that existed inside of me, you guys. So if it's in me, it's in you, if you want it to be. And ideally, it doesn't have to take like a diagnosis for you to find that discipline within you, right? What do you want in your life? What sort of habits do you want to put in place that you're like, oh, I wish I was that type of person. I wish I was someone who could do that. Be that person. Be that person. And I say this to myself too, because I'm like, I wish, I hear someone's morning routine about how they meditate every day. They carve out 1 hour. I was with my dear friend, Maureen Woods, and she's like, my husband takes my dog for an hour the first thing in the morning and lets me be. I do my practice. I do my meditation. I go for a walk. And I was like, oh, that sounds nice. I wish I could do that. I could do that. I could do that, and this morning I chose to record my podcast instead of do my routine. I'm going to incorporate it throughout the rest of the day. I will find moments. I'm going to have my green juice. I'm going to take a little moment to meditate. I've been trying to do 14 days of the class throughout the month of March, and I've done 13, and we were March 31st. So I'll be damned. I'm not going to do that last day. And even if the class has 5-minute meditation. So, and for some people might think like, oh, I'm copying out. I'm only doing 5 minutes. I'm only doing 10 minutes. You're doing 5 minutes. That's amazing. We have to really give ourselves credit. And again, I'm saying this with passion because I need to hear it for myself too. But like the little things really, really matter. They really count, and they build a big, beautiful life along the way. So just give yourself those 5 minutes here and there, and know that you have the discipline within you to do it. And then the next theme was openness. And this one I really wanted to feel on the yoga mat was like, as we move through this practice, as we move through different stretches, feel the literal openness in your body and let that expand you out into life as well. What do you need to be open to? Again, it kind of comes back to that affirmation of like, where do you feel like you're blocked right now or holding back from? And where can you open yourself up to? Again, it could be finances. It could be like, I just had a hard conversation with Duncan this week that I've been putting off, just around ways that I was feeling around our sex life. And it felt so good. I feel so much more open now, right? So that was an area in my life that I was feeling blocked, that I was feeling heavy, literally. I was feeling like there was this elephant in the room. And maybe he wasn't at all, but I was. So I needed to open that door. And that involved a hard conversation that led to this like beautiful release, and there's still more conversations to have. There's still work to be done. And I'm ready for it. I'm open to it. And I'm open to the possibility of change and growth within our relationship because of this. So do the thing, open up, be available for it. You are available for it. The next week was flow. This is a fun one because all of my classes, especially at the Well, are like slow flow, fire flow, power flow. And I'm like, flow is we move with our breath. We let the prana move through us as we move our body. I love flow because one movement, one breath, when you're having to focus on that, it allows you to get out of your damn head. And being in a flow state, what I realized is that it's not an autopilot. It's not doing a sun salutation that you know how to do, that you've done hundreds of times, and then you're just like turning off because you're just doing it. It's like, that is beautiful too, in a certain way where your body just knows what to do, right? But we need to engage. We need to be engaged. So what does that mean? I was encouraging in the practice to do something different, to add something, to add a little challenge. We need to be slightly challenged to be in a flow state. If you love doing art or something like that, and it just brings you to this place of peace, challenge yourself with a new piece, something you've never done before. Bring novelty into it. And that can really help create a flow state where nothing else matters. Time doesn't exist, So it's finding that like play, that balance between like, there's this ease in it, there's this flow, but also it's not so simple that you can just turn off and be on autopilot. So what could bring you to a flow state? And then last but not least, thank you for being here. This is longer than I thought it would be. Surrender. Surrender. And I didn't have this plan, but I'm just going to share what I've been reading to people this week around surrender. When we surrender, we give up. We give up. That's all. No, there's more to it. When we surrender, we give up, but not in the way we think giving up means. We don't give up to or on the situation, but rather we give up on the notion that we should be able to or can manage the situation, that we can control any of it. We give up the belief that we can make reality different than what it is. As much as we are conditioned to never give up, in the case of surrendering, giving up, the mistaken belief that we are in charge offers a profound relief. I am not giving up on getting pregnant, but honestly, I have to surrender. I have to surrender to everything that is happening around me, within me. So what I'm going to be talking about, and this will be past the Playgrounds first workshop, but you could get the recording of it if you join for the Playgrounds last month. It's on April 3rd, but what I will be, no, it's on April 2nd. What I will be surrendering, or sorry, what I will be talking about is, again, this play. That's what the playground's about. It's talking about playing with different beliefs, with different ways of moving through life. So it's this play of letting go, leaning back, being in trust, and still moving towards your dreams, moving towards the life that you desire, taking action on it. But again, it's almost like that pause, right? We just have to take a moment sometimes to just to trust. It's really trust is really what it is. So like when I woke up the day after all of those doctor's appointments, I felt this deep sense of surrender. It is what it is. It'll play out as it should. If not this, something better. So with that, I leave you, and I will be leading a workshop. I was looking at my calendar last night, debating to do it, but it's been in the back of my head. And sometimes I'm like, Jamie, don't do it. You do enough. There's enough going on. And then sometimes I'm like, yeah, but I want to do this workshop. So I'm going to do it. And it's called On Purpose. That's all I know of it so far. I'm going to build it. I've been really like stirring, and I'm going to take moments to pause and just let it be created within me. But it's called On Purpose. And the date will be out very shortly. You can actually look in the show notes, because by the time I get the show notes to Hannah, I will have the date locked in. It'll be sometime mid-April. And I hope you can join. It's not going to be free. It's going to be paid, because I'm doing a lot for free right now. And we have to set boundaries for ourselves sometimes, right? And I know you're going to support me in that. Anyone who joins, or anyone who was in the playground or in Club Create, will get a discount on it though. And it's going to be very low cost. So I hope you join for that, and that we can really truly live life together on purpose. Thank you for being here. I love you deeply. Thank you for listening to my raspy voice and listening to me drink my coffee. And I will see you again soon. We have 2 more episodes left of this season before I take a break for the summer. I have 2 guests lined up I'm very excited to interview. And I love you. Bye.